This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. The world is on fire, and we have these two global rejects continuing to pollute the media with nothing but garbage and misinformation, trying to rewrite history. The Sussex summer campaign to get back their IPP status continues with this full exclusive from People magazine. So I want people to understand what is happening here. Not only are Meghan and Harry trying to rewrite history, but it's to convince the American audience into thinking that Prince Harry does need this security, because at the end of the day, it's going to be the Americans who are going to have to pay for this. And I believe that what the Harkles are doing right now is trying to exhaust the king and put pressure on the government to give in to this request to avoid having this liability on their hands. It's not going to cost the UK government that much. I mean, how often is Meghan going to go over to the UK? Like, never. So when you look at how they are framing this, it's setting it up so America is going to have to foot the bill. And, this could be attractive to the UK government. This could be attractive to the king, because this headache is continuously growing with these two because it's nonstop. As sick as I am to talk about these two, it's still important to do it because at the end of the day, I don't want to be paying for this security. So let's go through this article and remind people, or for people who are new here, to see exactly what the real story is and how they have been manipulating essentially the world with this song and dance. So here we go. So this propaganda begins with it saying, Prince Harry's desperation to protect his wife and kids has deepened his estrangement from his father, King Charles. So now this security issue is the reason why there is this deep rift. When the Duke of Sussex returned to the UK in May to celebrate the 10th anniversary of one of his proudest achievements, the Invictus Games, his father was notably absent from the ceremony. The two were unable to meet during Harry's visit, which the prince's spokesperson attributed to the king's full schedule. However, sources close to Harry suggest a deeper issue. Harry wanted to discuss his ongoing battle for security, which he has been fighting for in court for more than 4 years, and believes Charles has the power to reinstate. In this propaganda piece, they are banking on the stupidity of the American audience for not knowing the constitutional duties of the king with the government. So here they write, Buckingham Palace will not comment on security provisions, but a palace source tells people the notion that Harry's security is in Charles's hands is wholly incorrect. And that's true. But Harry doesn't want to listen. The family rift that first became public in 2020 when Harry and his wife, Meghan Markle, stepped back from the royal roles has been marked by blistering attacks and unresolved tensions. Well, whose side has been issuing those blistering attacks? I don't recall the royal family going after Meghan and Harry. It's all been Meghan and Harry. But for Harry, no single issue is a greater sticking point than that of security. Multiple well-placed insiders in his circle tell people in this week's exclusive cover story. You notice how this narrative flipped upside down when the race car didn't work for them? Now all of a sudden the reason why for these tensions between the family is because he lost his security. If the royal family was so racist and the UK media was so racist, then why would Meghan ever want to go back to the UK? The whole argument with Harry in the beginning was the reason why he wanted his security back was because his private security was not sufficient because in the UK they could not carry guns. And of course, Meghan and Harry can never waste an opportunity to exploit a tragedy. They are now exploiting the global threats that they face. All right. Let's continue. Despite a positive meeting between the father and son in February following the king's cancer diagnosis, their communication has since deteriorated. Those close to Prince Harry say the monarch no longer takes his son's calls or responds to his letters. He gets unavailable right now, says a friend of Harry's, Meghan. His calls go unanswered. He has tried to reach out about the king's health, but those calls go unanswered too. Well, now could you blame King Charles? Why would anybody be surprised by this? Do you see how they're painting the royal family as being cold and unsympathetic to Harry's plight and needing security. Everything that Meghan and Harry have done have been self-serving. None of this shows an ounce of care for the king nor Princess Catherine. Both of them had been diagnosed with cancer, and here is this guy causing more stress onto the monarch. In my opinion, Harry lost the privilege to be privy to any type of information regarding the family's health. And that's because he and his wife are always leaking things to the press. So why would the family trust him with any sensitive information? Like, he can't be that stupid to not understand why they've stopped talking to him. It was not too long ago that Endgame was released, where Meghan and Harry allowed King Charles and Princess Catherine's name to be listed in there to damage their reputation as being racist, which triggered an onslaught of unwarranted online abuse by the Sussex squad, the anti-monarchists, the crazy loon Marxists. The support and weaponization of the U.S. media for the Harkles on this topic definitely heightened the threat level for the royal family as a result of Meghan and Harry attacking them. So let's not get this twisted. The royal family has every right to cut off communication with Harry and his wife for the damage that they have done. So this is where I find that Harry and Meghan are taking advantage of what is happening in the UK. And the article continues by saying, amid the estrangements, Prince Harry remains deeply concerned for the safety of his wife and children, Archie and little Betty, and has, according to sources, repeatedly asked his father for help. Harry is frightened and feels the only person who can do anything about it is his father, a royal insider tells People. Another source close to the situation says Harry is determined to protect his own family at all costs. Now the fight is boiling over. In the ITV documentary Tabloids on Trial, which aired in the UK on July 25th, Prince Harry voiced his fears that negative press could provoke a violent attack on his wife. All it takes is one lone actor, he said, citing these genuine concerns as his reason for not bringing Meghan, Archie, and little Betty back to the UK. You see, this is the arrogance of this guy. He truly does believe that he's more special than everybody else in this world. We had 2 serious stabbings in the UK recently. One, the military officer, and then 3 innocent little children getting slaughtered. Where was their security? You see, Harry and Meghan hold responsibility for being responsible for what is happening in the UK right now. Their support of all these woke policies and equity, inclusion, open borders, climate change, all the bullshit that we see going on now that's destroying the West, they hold responsibility because they have this global platform and they have been virtue signaling to all of us for the last 4 years. So now when stuff like this happens and the world becomes a lot more unsafe as a result of the hatred that these two keep planting and sowing in the West, you can't expect anything less than to see these results. So now they want security to protect them from potential acid attack or knifing. No, Harry and Meghan, you don't get that privilege. You're responsible for a lot of the shit that's going on right now. And I think if it is such a problem, then direct your energy towards changing those policies with the politicians. That's where, if you want change and to feel safe, that's where you need to go. Since both of you are so into diversity, cultural enrichment, and inclusion, you need to sit with us in this mess, as you are responsible for it, particularly jeopardizing the safety of your own family. So why should you be protected? Now moving into a TRG fact check, the article continues by saying, the Duke of Sussex has also taken the battle to the courts, where he lost his bid to restore his taxpayer-funded security earlier this year. He has plans to appeal. Exactly what is stopping Harry from securing the protection he seeks is a matter of bitter contention. Constitutionally, the monarch has no governmental power in the UK, and the power to bestow police protection lies with the Executive Committee for the Protection of Royalty and Public Figures, RAVEC, which operates on behalf of the UK government. But Harry, whose offer to personally cover the costs of the police protection was also rejected in court, feels that as king, Charles could intervene to ensure such protection is extended. The issue has created an impenetrable wall between Harry and Charles. The conversation has now shifted from frustration to complete silence from the king, claims the friend. Even though Harry fully understands it's the government who makes this decision, he doesn't feel like their authority matters. And this is the problem with this guy, as he feels so entitled to be above the actual government and law. In the ruling that was handed down earlier this year for Prince Harry, it specifically states here twice that the royal family would support the Sussexes in making the case for effective support from Her Majesty's government and Canadian and other host governments, while noting that these are independent processes and decisions for those governments. So the royal family supports that Harry needs security, but they cannot get involved in the process and dictate whether or not a government's going to go ahead and hand down this special type of security. And I think Harry doesn't care that there's individual processes. It's like he is a child throwing his toys out the pram. He's like saying, Daddy, you need to tell them that you are king and I deserve security, even though it's going to burden the taxpayer here in the UK. Well, not so much, but in America, he doesn't care. He doesn't care that that burden is going to come on to the taxpayer. He just wants his father to tell the government what to do, which I think would cause an uproar in the UK, considering there's so much going on right now that the last thing we need to be doing is giving this entitled prince who can afford security himself free security on the taxpayer's back. And of course, this guy can't do anything without bringing up his mum, as sources close to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, who have established a new life in Montecito, California, say the palace is mindful of what happened when Princess Diana left royal life and instantly eclipsed the institution. Charles' fear is a repeat of the past, the insider says. When his wife divorced the institution, she took the headlines, overshadowed his work, and became a global superstar. Seeing his son leave with his wife was not part of the plan. Safety has always been a cornerstone of why Meghan and Harry say they decided to leave. No, that was not it. But okay, if you want to revisit this history and change it. The Duchess of Sussex has cited negative press and the lack of royal support during her time as a working royal as reasons she contemplated unaliving herself. This part really had nothing to do with the article, but they had to throw in the Diana card and associate Diana with Meghan because they're so similar, because they really are trying to force the history repeating itself narrative. This couple is begging for something to happen, going as far as to staging like we saw in New York City with the fake car chase. What they're doing here is putting everybody in their orbit in danger. Meghan doesn't really give a shit about the security. We see how many times she has breached security. That's not what this is about. Now, this next part of the article is quasi-truthful as they talk about the Sandringham Summit. And of course, being that the Queen can't speak for herself because she is no longer with us, they write that the Queen deemed it quote unquote imperative for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex to have effective security after their departure. Nowhere in the court documents does it state that the Queen said that it is imperative that these two idiots be protected with royal security. Nowhere. And these two crybabies continue on this narrative of RAVEC not doing their job and that there was some type of interference along the way, when the justice came back and had stated no, they did everything that they were supposed to do in their evaluation. But the article continues to say the Queen made it clear that effective security was necessary due to the threats against them. But somewhere along the line, there was interference, the royal insider alleges. Right. The security downgrade was ultimately enacted by RAVEC. Its membership includes the Home Office, the UK version of Homeland Security, the Metropolitan Police, and the Royal Household. Although the king has no direct involvement with RAVEC, his staff sit on the committee. A government spokesperson says they provide rigorous and proportionate security and do not disclose details, as doing so could compromise their integrity and affect individual security. But Harry doesn't care about any of that. Remember, in this court case, he wanted to see other more important internationally protected people in their security structure, violating their privacy. But heaven forbid anybody ask about Harry's situation here in the United States, that would be violating his privacy and his safety and security. But getting to the real point that they're trying to make here is to get this decision turned so the US government can pick it up. So they write, Harry, whose team notes that the Sussex's annual threat assessment has not been updated by the government since 2019, perceives the roadblock to be his father, even as the palace disputes this. RAVEC's decision could have international implications as well. If the UK acknowledges the threat to them, other countries are likely to follow suit in how they're protected. Well, I'll tell you this much. The United States is not going to allow this idiot prince on U.S. soil to have anything happen to him because we don't want that type of liability. And for the unsuspecting American, know that this is all propaganda. Harry's life is not in jeopardy. He has more than enough and sufficient security to cover him, not only in the United States, but also in the UK when he goes over there. This is all about getting this status back for the immunity. This immunity would cover him and protect him from any type of criminal prosecution, which we do know that they're involved in a couple of questionable things that should, let's say, an unprotected regular citizen get investigated for, then, there's possible jail time. Then there's also the angle of not having to pay for it because either they're running out of money or they're just too cheap and they feel that the plebes need to pay for it because they're so special. And then finally, there's the element of access to data. To me, that's the scariest part of all of it. But going back to these various points, you can see why there's such a desperate attempt to go ahead and get this special status back, because there's a lot to gain from it. Gain from it that could hurt other people. Just my opinion. And in this article, they confirm what we have been saying this whole entire time. They write, the UK government acknowledges numerous threats against them, but we are not privy to specific details due to lack of cooperation, says Joe Funk, Senior Vice President of Torchstone Global Security, which oversees the couple's private protection in the States. Now, for those that don't know, Torchstone Global Security has a lot of former Secret Servicemen from the U.S. government. So assuming that they're looking to get that access back into the U.S. government, I mean, would you trust this security team, especially knowing what our own government has been doing? If they get access to Scotland Yard and Scotland Yard is working with the CIA and the FBI, think about how much information they can get, not only on people that they want to silence, like myself and others, but also of high-ranking officials like the royal family. So you got to understand that these people cannot be trusted. Now, this next part I found particularly chilling. It says Prince Harry, who is fifth in line to the throne, is also worried about the public's safety when he is out, as well as the risk to his staff. The staff is concerned when they travel with them, says a former employee of the Archewell Fugazi Public Charity. The fact that Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal duty should not be a factor in their protection level, says the source close to the situation. Working royal or not, this is the king's son. Now, after knowing what we know about these two and how they like to create this facade, of course, Meghan and Harry would never put themselves in a line of fire, but they would put others in the line of fire just to prove their point that their security is not up to their standard. And this is what makes Harry and Meghan so dangerous, is I wouldn't put it past them, being that if they could stage a fake car chase and do all kinds of things to make it look like they need this security, who's to say that they wouldn't go to that next level and put somebody else's life in jeopardy just to prove this point, that they need this security because they're so hounded by all these crazy people who are motivated by what they read in the papers. These two are so dangerous that, I just wish the people that are looking over this have Meghan and Harry committed in some institution. This would solve all the problems that they're having to get this safety and security. If you put them in an institution, not only will it cost less, but it also keep them safe, as well as the public safe. Boom, problem solved, Harry. The article closes out by saying some close to the palace suggest that Harry's memoir and public interviews have compromised the family's trust in him. I would also add their safety as well. Others close to Harry counter that if he had proper security, he wouldn't need to speak publicly in order to help pay for it. If the matter of security is resolved, says the friend, it's swords down. Oh, okay. Indeed, nothing would give Harry more happiness than being able to rekindle his bond with his father. At the end of the day, adds the friend, you can't undo bloodlines. He's not asking his dad for a nicer house or nicer cars. He's asking because of the reality of the situation. He is at risk. Notice the article didn't say that he also wanted to repair his bond with his brother. Obviously, you know who is behind this article, and quite frankly, I hope the American people don't fall for it. When you look at everything that they have done, they brought this on themselves. Between all the lies upon lies upon lies, and then now backtracking and turning this narrative into, well, all of this could go away if we just got our security back. No, it's going to make things worse. And I think these two need to sit in this shit now and face the consequences of their actions. I'm sorry, but you don't get to be an asshole to people. And then when things aren't going your way, backpedal and be like, oh, I don't know why people don't like us or why we're being treated this way. And then go ahead and play the victim. No. On a final note, I'd like to share some of this tea found on St. Meghan Markle. Please take with a grain of salt. This is all just gossip and rumors, but it does fall in line with everything that we've heard about Meghan and the way that she treats people. As it says here, I used to work at a PR firm that had Meghan and Harry as clients. This does not surprise me at all. Meghan tells Harry what to say. She has somehow convinced Harry that she knows better than him. I don't know about now, but she used to critique every interview Harry had and coach him on how to nail the next interview. She thought she was smarter and more experienced than us, their PR team, and she undermined us all the time when she was managing Harry. We all hated working with her. Harry is terrified of saying the wrong thing because he knows Meghan will lay onto him. Say what you want about Harry, but he is in an abusive relationship. Well, I don't feel bad for him for 1 second because he's been abusive to his own family and others. I'm hesitant to share details about myself or my role at the company to avoid giving away my identity or the company's identity, but I'll say this. Some of us on my team have met them virtually or in person, but the whole team worked closely on their campaigns, so I think we were all privy to their ideas and shenanigans. Meghan had some really bad and self-important ideas. To protect my identity, I'll speak for my team, not for myself. We all shared the opinion that Meghan ruled the roost and Harry mostly went along just to keep the peace. If Meghan had a really bad idea that could damage their brand or obliterate the royal family's image, Harry spoke up. But otherwise, he was like, whatever. We didn't know what their relationship was like on a daily basis, so we don't know how she abused him or how often, but we could see that he was afraid and tired of her. He seemed like a nice person, just quiet and subdued. Meghan took the lead. She controlled all the conversations and made the big decisions. Harry was just there. We have seen her berate Harry on a few occasions, and if she was willing to speak to him like that in public, then how much worse was she in private? Their relationship didn't seem healthy. With all that we know about Meghan and what she has done to her own father, I believe that there's truth here in this. Harry married the devil, and what we are seeing now unfold is a couple who are desperate because things might be catching up to them, if you know what I mean. But in any case, I thought I would put this out here because, again, they are trying to reshape the narrative for the American public to pull on our heartstrings and be like, oh, yeah, we're living in this climate where it's so dangerous. Well, whose fault is that? It's the fault of not only the media, but people like Meghan and Harry who are behind the scenes causing this chaos. Just my opinion. Anyhow, definitely leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content. But until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
I was such a fraud.